I wasn't looking for ghosts. I was looking for a paycheck. That's how I ended up doing overnight security at the old Waverly Hills Sanatorium. You've probably heard of it. One of those places every ghost hunter dreams of visiting. 5 stories tall, built in the early 1900s to house tuberculosis patients, later abandoned and eventually turned into a hotspot for thrill seekers and paranormal investigators. I didn't care about any of that. My wife and I had just had our second kid, and the night shift paid extra. All I had to do was walk the halls a couple times per night, make sure no one broke in, and stay awake. Sounds easy, right? The first night, I brought a thermos of coffee and a flashlight. The owner, Mr. Raymond, handed me a jangling ring of keys and walked me through the place. He was an older guy, seemed tired in that way people get when they've seen too much.
You'll hear stuff.
He told me casually.
Don't go chasing noises. This place echoes. It's the building settling, mostly.
I nodded like I believed him. He paused. Looked like he wanted to say more, then just muttered,
Don't go near the tunnel.
"What tunnel?" He didn't answer, just walked away, keys swinging from his belt. I found out later there's something called the Body Chute. It's a long, sloping tunnel they used to discreetly transport corpses down the hill during the TB epidemic. Patients could watch from the windows and never see the dead being wheeled out. That first night was quiet. Too quiet. At around 3 a.m., I was doing my rounds on the 4th floor when I heard footsteps behind me. Heavy, deliberate, like boots on concrete. I spun around. Nothing. I shined my flashlight down the hallway. The beam stretched maybe 30 feet, then got swallowed by the dark. The footsteps had stopped. I told myself it was echoes, my own boots. Even laughed a little. Nervous habit. But as I turned back, there was this sharp breath right next to my ear, like someone had leaned in, lips just an inch from my skin, and exhaled. I whirled around again, light flailing. Still no one. Just the long hallway and a broken gurney propped against the wall. The air suddenly felt cold, like I'd stepped into a freezer. I went back downstairs and stayed in the lobby for the rest of the night, staring at the grainy black and white security feeds. Nothing moved. Nothing ever did. But I couldn't shake that breath. I even checked the video later, but the 4th floor camera had glitched out around 3:10 a.m. Static and snow until 3:25. Night 2 was worse. About halfway through my shift, I was checking the stairwells when I heard it again. Footsteps, this time above me. I was on the 3rd floor. The steps were coming worse than from the 4th. I hesitated, then climbed. The 4th floor was dim, just a few working lights. As I reached the top of the stairs, I caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. A figure darting past the far end of the hall. Too fast for me to make anything out, but it was tall, thin, wearing something dark. I called out, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here." No answer. I walked down the hallway, flashlight trembling in my hand. I checked the rooms one by one. Most were empty. A few still had rusted bed frames or rotting curtains. Then I reached room 402. The door was slightly ajar. As I stepped closer, I noticed something odd. There were fingerprints on the inside of the glass pane in the door. Not just one or two, but dozens. Smudged, desperate looking, like someone had been pounding on it from the inside. I pushed the door open. It was pitch black inside. My flashlight flickered and died. Dead batteries. Of course. I backed away, heart pounding, and nearly tripped over something. When I looked down, I saw it wasn't an object. It was a shadow, stretching across the floor from nothing. No source, no shape, just long, dark, and slowly receding into the room. I slammed the door shut and ran. When I told Mr. Raymond the next day, he didn't even flinch.
Room 402,
He said,
and that's where the nurse hung herself. She was pregnant, unwed. This was the 30s, stigma and all that.
I told him I saw fingerprints. He nodded.
Yeah, we get that sometimes.
He said it like someone might say, "Yeah, it rains here sometimes." Night 3, I almost quit. But I was stubborn, and we needed the money. Everything was quiet until around 2:45. That's when the intercom system crackled on. Now, understand something. The intercom hadn't worked in decades. The wires had been gutted. Nothing should have been coming through. But I heard it, this soft wheezing laugh. Then a woman's voice.
He's in the tunnel.
That's all she said. I froze. Remember what Mr. Raymond had warned me about? I didn't want to go to the tunnel. But if someone was actually down there? I grabbed my flashlight, fresh batteries this time, and headed to the back of the building, down a rusted service stairwell to the entrance of the Body Chute. The door was slightly ajar. Cold air rolled out, heavy with earth and mold. I stepped inside. The tunnel was long, sloping. At the far end, I could see the faint outline of daylight. It must have been a moonlit night outside. But in between, just darkness. About halfway down, my flashlight flickered again. Then it went out. I tapped it, shook it, nothing. I stood still, barely breathing. Then I heard it, dragging. Something being pulled across the concrete. Slow, rhythmic, getting closer. I backed up, heartbeat thundering. Then, slam! A sound exploded behind me. I spun around and my light suddenly came back on. There was a gurney behind me. One of those old hospital stretchers, but it hadn't been there a second ago. And on it was a body bag. I stepped closer. The bag moved. I reached out, slowly, trembling hand, hovering over the zipper. And then it burst open, the bag ripping in half as a figure lunged out, pale-skinned and shrieking, its mouth torn wide, eyes rolled back. I screamed and bolted up the tunnel, not looking back until I hit the service stairs. I slammed the door shut and threw up right there on the concrete floor. I quit that night. Told Mr. Raymond I wasn't coming back. Money be damned. He didn't argue. As I left, he just said,
You made it longer than most.
A few months later, I read a blog from a paranormal group that had investigated Waverly. They posted audio from the tunnel, EVPs they called them. At the 2:47 timestamp, there was a voice, a woman's,